Today we are going to have a debate about artificial... Hello everyone. Today we're going to have a debate about artificial intelligence. As you might have already guessed, there are people that are against artificial intelligence and technological revolutions, and there are people for it. So we have two teams right now. We have Driss El-Hmoud and Roberta Constantin, who are on the con side, that do not really believe that we will improve humanity all that much, or maybe even on the contrary, compromise humanity. And on the pro side, we have Geerard Adriaen and Devy Callens on the pro side that are 100% for the technological revolution. We have three main questions, and these we divided into separate segments. So we can start with the first one. It goes as follows. Does artificial intelligence improve human life on a social aspect? Driss, let's start with you.
Okay. We all know that AI can help society in a lot of ways, but also in the wrong hands, it could be used in a bad way. AI algorithms are powered by data. As more and more data is being collected about every single minute of every person's day, our privacy gets compromised. If businesses and governments decide to make decisions based on the intelligence they gather about you, like China is doing, with its social credit system, it could devolve in social oppression.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Let's go over to the pro side, Davey.
Yeah, I understand your point of view, Dries, but try to see it my way. So I believe that artificial intelligence creates significant opportunities on social level, and definitely in times of a pandemic, because social media is the key to most interactions these days. And I'm fully convinced that the future looks bright on these social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn. For example, the last one uses artificial intelligence to offer job recommendations, suggest people you might like to connect with, and serves you specific posts in your feed. For example, Snapchat leverages the power of computer vision. That's an artificial intelligence technology to track your features and overlay filters that move your face in real time. And furthermore, when you're trying to type a text message on social media, you can notice that some words are corrected instantly. And that's because AI can correct commonly made grammar mistakes. So in general, all these aspects help improve our digital presence and social behavior on the internet, so it definitely improves social life. I hope that you can see my point of view now.
Yeah, sure. Is there anything somebody wants to add from the con side? Geerard, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Well, I think AI definitely improves human life. Let's look at our phone, for example. The phone is, from all devices we have, the one that we use the most in our daily lives. And on our phones, among the most popular apps are Google Maps. And Google Maps is very crucial. We don't like to use a road map in these times. And I think all of us use Google Maps. And they're based on AI, so it's very important. Also, social media. Davy before talk about social media. And it's really important there because we want to see our feed on Instagram or Facebook, and we want to see relevant things in that feed. Well, it's an AI algorithm that selects the things that are relevant to us and shows them to us. So this is really important. Also, the phone itself, for accessing our phone, many people these days want to use fingerprint scanners or facial recognition. These are also AI, so AI really makes our life convenient.
Yes. Is there anything from the con side that wants to say anything about it? Not really? Okay. Then I would like to jump in with two extra questions for you, Geerard. The personalized content, right? I believe that it's actually not only my belief. There are many reports on political polarization where people get flooded with content that is meant for them. But isn't there the line between propaganda and personalized content very small in that aspect? That was my first question. And the second one, you mentioned Google Maps. Of course, everyone likes to use Google Maps. But don't we as a generation lose the ability to remember the roads and orientation because we are numb to this?
Well, it is true that many people will remember to read, for how to read, will forget, I mean, how to read, for example, a roadmap, but that's a choice. It's using Google Maps as a choice. If you have to go to, like, imagine your supermarket is closed and you want to go to another supermarket. If you want to take a roadmap, you can do it, but it's not the most convenient way. I mean, some people, they like to, for example, go and travel with a roadmap. They can still do it. It's not forbidden to use a roadmap, but AI is not necessarily, I mean, Google Maps is not necessarily a replacement. It's more like alternative. But because it is more convenient than the old methods, people are using it these days. So because of this, Google Maps is good, but there is no rule that you shouldn't be using, for example, a roadmap. You can still do it.
Okay.
Yes. If I can jump in on your first question about the political polarization on social media, well, there's an easy way to prevent this. That because you will get personalized advertisements based on the pages you like. For example, if you're a Trump fan, then you will get a lot of advertisements about the Republican Party and about Donald Trump. But there's an easy way to prevent this. If you like both pages of Democrats and Republicans all alike, then the Facebook algorithm will not target you as a Trump fan or as a Biden fan. So if you like both pages, then you will get all different points of view, and you know that you need to make sure that all the information you receive, well, neutrality doesn't exist anymore on the internet, so you need to make sure that you just like all points of view, that you make sure that just every page has different opinions, different point of views, and then you can form your own opinion based on the advertisements, based on the research you find on the internet. So don't just like the Republican Party, also like the Democrat Party.
Okay, so if nobody wants to add anything to this topic, we can classify the social aspect as a yellow stage. We've divided them into green, yellow, red, and orange. And the social aspect is definitely something that we could use AI to improve the social life, for sure. But we do notice in statistics that this is not always the case, and that there is more separation and polarization in political aspects and self-image, because we get so many ideal looks on social media. But of course, it in the positive aspect as well. So it is in the middle. Then we can go over to the next point of human life. We talk about financial and the business aspect of artificial intelligence. And let's go back to you, Davy. What's your opinion on this?
Thank you, Sandro. I believe that artificial intelligence has a lot of advantages for managers and the economy in general. Like the benefits of implementing AI in finance can solve a lot of problems and optimize many processes like fraud detection, delivering personalized recommendations about investments, shares, and securities. And for managers, artificial intelligence can automate jobs, so you don't need to hire employees who do a lot of repetitive work. And this also happens in the manufacturing industry. Artificial intelligence replaces humans because AI is more precise and can do things faster. So you lower human error as well, thus you save money in general. And there's also the fact that AI can deliver a 24/7 customer service, a customer interaction with your clients and customers. So through chatbots, like they already use on bol.com, it improves the availability and customer experience in overall. So from my point of view, artificial intelligence improves human lives in terms of finance and business.
Okay, let's go over to the con side. Driss.
Yeah. So in my opinion, AI could help in businesses, but it also could be a disadvantage. It could ruin the economy. A lot of people are starting to worry about their job stability. And if businesses start implementing AI, a lot of people will start losing their jobs. AI will also create jobs, but only for people with proper training and education, which a lot of people will not have.
Okay. Roberta, please.
Financially speaking, more resources will be spent on training programs that will need to be instaurated for companies to make sure that humans know how to work with the new technology implemented in the company.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wants to add something? Yeah, Geerard?
Well, there are some other aspects in business in which AI is very useful. For example, quality control. Imagine that 100,000 samples of a certain product have been produced and all of them have to be checked on quality. Hiring people to do this job is going to be very labor intensive and very expensive. So it's useful to let an AI-based machine do this checking. Let that machine scan all of the products and by that way check. It saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money. Davy before talked about chatbots. And he was completely right to bring up this topic because this is a very important revolution in AI and in business. And I would like to add about the chatbots that also it's not only important for the customer that he can 24/7 actually reach the company, but also for the company itself. Employing a chatbot is easier, it's cheaper, you don't need to pay a salary, but it is answering the questions of your clients anyway. So for smaller businesses, this is really easy. Otherwise, they continuously get emails with 10 times the same question, for example. And also in bigger companies, it reduces the need for a large customer service. You know, you can reduce your customer service by just having one chatbot, actually.
Okay. Anyone else that wants to add something to that statement, or?
Nope.
Yeah, maybe I.
Another pro.
So I think that the goal of our society is that we need to educate people to oversee these artificial intelligence devices that replace the old jobs. And this way it creates new jobs and replace other jobs that might function better if we use an artificial intelligence device to execute the job. So I think this needs to be the goal of our society.
Okay. I would like to make a because artificial intelligence, ultimately it's the goal for self-learning, right? Where artificial intelligence is able to develop its own conscientiousness. Right now, artificial intelligence still has only one single purpose. I mean, every type of AI has its own direction. But don't you believe that once artificial intelligence is self-learning is like 20 years from now, that it has already learned everything what we are able to learn it because it's able to analyze so fast and quickly?
And do you think that's bad?
Yeah, because you mentioned that that it will create new jobs to reprogram it and all that stuff. But once it reaches a point of ultimate self-learning and it has a learning track of 20 years in the topic or in the business that you are normally programming it, where it now programs itself. Do you believe that's not dangerous?
So you think that most of the jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence, and that normal humans will not be able to take the job anymore?
I cannot say. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I think
future-wise, no one knows.
I think that the government needs to make sure that artificial intelligence will be regulated now and in the future. So we make sure that enough humans will get jobs, but more educated jobs. Okay. So I think, in my point of view, I don't think there will be a problem. But of course, you have people who want to push the boundaries of artificial intelligence.
We will divide the jobs very carefully, Davy.
Yes, exactly.
We conclude that on the financial and business perspective, AI definitely has more advantages than disadvantages. It has extraordinary capabilities when it comes to analyzing data, improving efficiency, and as Geerard mentioned, the quality control. It's uncomparable to a human being. So next, we have, does AI improve human life on the basis of healthcare? Let's start with Geerard.
AI is definitely crucial on improving our healthcare. One of the most done practices by doctors is blood testing. Well, analyzing blood or other things such as saliva and urine are often done by AI-based machines. So it's really crucial to have AI for these things because they are very common practices among doctors. Also, image processing, which is a part of AI, can be used in devices to check whether a brown spot on your skin is just a brown spot or maybe it's skin cancer. And it is even proven that AI is more accurate in predicting whether something is skin cancer or not than a real life human doctor. So it's really important and it's life saving actually. And my most important statement about AI in healthcare is during these COVID-19 times, as long as we don't have a vaccine, we need a device to actually check whether a person has COVID-19 or not. And if they have it, we need to put them in quarantine. But we cannot do this whole thing if we don't have the device. Well, that device is based on AI. So at this moment, AI is basically saving the world, I could say, because both economic, social, and healthcare aspects are damaged by COVID-19. And AI-based devices are helping us to put the people in quarantine who need to go in quarantine.
Okay. Roberta, let's go to you. What do you have to say about the healthcare aspect?
I agree that many advantages have been created by the usage of AI in the healthcare system, but we cannot ignore the disadvantages. And the biggest one, in my opinion, are the big unemployment rates in the industry, because with robots doing more and more tasks accurately, such as analyzing the condition of a patient or dealing with mental health issues, there are doctors or nurses who have created emotional attachments, which are very important for patients, and that may get fired and never see those patients again. Doesn't matter their condition. And even if AI will not replace doctors in the nearest future, we can only make good use of these machines that started to predict more and more accurately than doctors. But a major issue in the healthcare department that I agree that some doctors do, but not more often than AI, is misdiagnostication. And when the system don't have enough points for each patient in order to make a clear diagnosis, risks appear and they are higher than ever. And I'm talking about 200,000 deaths each year because of misdiagnostication of AI machines.
Okay, so we are talking again about that learning curve that AI has to go through within the next X amount of years. We don't know. I actually have a question for Devy, or anyone actually who wants to answer it can answer. Would it matter for you personally if, because we know artificial intelligence is already developing emotions and real life bodies and stuff, would it matter to you personally, this is a personal question, if you would get helped by a robot that showed emotions where you can have a connection to, or would you still prefer to have a human, in personal opinion?
Yeah, I want to answer that question if it's possible. So I think the sole purpose of artificial intelligence is to save lives. And whether it's by a human person or by a device with or without emotions, the goal needs to be the same. Artificial intelligence needs to save lives. And I think nobody can disagree with the fact that we must use this technology to achieve its purpose.
Yeah.
Whether with or without emotions.
Okay, but that was not my question. I really appreciate your answer, but I asked you personally, would you rather go to a human doctor or would you go to a robot? I mean, a robot sounds like a transformer, but I mean, generally a robot.
Maybe I will personally answer. I would rather go to the most experienced person. So whether it's a robot who can be more precise, or a person with more life experience, but maybe that person has made a couple of mistakes and the device has not made a couple of mistakes. So in my opinion, it doesn't matter who helps me. I want to get better, and that's it.
Okay, super. So we can conclude. If Driss, do you want to add something to this topic, or?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of say a story as well. I think I would choose for a human doctor or nurse, because I saw this as well when my grandpa was in the hospital. He was there for a few months and he really started to get to know all of the doctors and nurses. And when I visited him and a nurse came into the room, he started smiling and saying, "Ah, here is my favorite nurse," which
Mhm.
keeps the hopes up as well for people that
Yeah,
are in the hospital for a long time.
yeah, that's something I can also relate to. Um, Although we can safely conclude that AI is going to improve our healthcare because when indeed the example that Gerard said is, in my opinion, one of the best arguments you can give with the brown spot or the skin cancer, for example. If you would be able to put in a scan, you know everything about your body, no misconceptions, no misread information. Everything is precise. You know exactly how to treat something that you might have. Let's go to the next topic in productivity. This is actually a general aspect of artificial intelligence where we talk very broadly about productivity. And I would like to ask the question at Gerard first. Does artificial intelligence improve productivity?
Definitely. When there is enough high qualitative input, AI can, for example, be used for giving more accurate demand forecasting, which is very crucial in businesses these days because more and more companies want to use just-in-time delivery. Just-in-time delivery is important because when a company has a warehouse, they don't want to stock the warehouse with materials that they don't need at that moment. Because that means they are losing space and they have to handle materials, which is expensive, but they don't need them. So in order to have a good just-in-time delivery, it's important to have a very accurate demand forecasting. And it is proven that actually AI can do this better than purchasing managers in general. So also, AI can do automated material procurement, which means that actually whenever a material is needed, the AI system can go and get it. And that's really important in businesses because if a business has too much materials in their warehouse or too little materials in their warehouse, in both cases, they're going to lose money. So it's important it's exact. And actually, a software can do this more exact than people.
Yeah. Okay, let's go over to Dries. What do you have to say about it?
So I think that AI could help in larger companies, but not in smaller companies, because AI also needs skilled employees to use the technology effectively. And if you don't have those employees with those skills, AI will not make your business more productive, which seems more, which seems easier for bigger companies to achieve than smaller companies. And using AI that's not being used properly will not increase your productivity at all, which will be not beneficial for smaller companies, which will have a more difficult time to find those skilled employees.
Mm-hmm. Is anyone else? Yeah, Roberta?
But also in general, putting people on the side on their jobs or giving them less to do decreases productivity among human beings and loses productivity in society as a whole, and not only in the business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you believe that we are sacrificing human productivity for
For
the business?
machines.
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone else that wants to add something to this, or can we conclude this question? No? Okay, so we conclude that productivity is going to help society, but more in a business perspective. It's going to be able to act more precise, again, more efficient, more effective than a human being is able to do. Although we also believe that it's perhaps a bit dangerous for society's way of productivity. Then we go to the next question. Is AI dangerous for humanity? And then we start with the first segment of this top question, and that's security. Let's start with Roberta. What do you have to say about the security of AI?
I believe that AI can be both helpful and dangerous at the same time, and we need to be aware of its danger in order to help optimize its functionality. Of course, any camera or microphone can be dangerous, and not only, and I think we're all scared a little bit about that. Hacking is also becoming more and more popular and powerful as this system grow. And I doubt that there is one person who did not think at some point that they are being listened or spied on in their own house. Take the example of ADT, which is a company in the United States, in Dallas, that produced home security systems. And it was used inside and outside homes. And not one, but several families were spied upon for more than 7 years by a so-called employee that was trusted by that company. And it was in 2016, and if I'm not mistaken, it was charged for criminal behavior because he was spying on those families, several families, for more than 7 years. So can you imagine what a human being can know about you and your life and your family in 7 years?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a very strong argument. Davy, let's go to you.
Yes, I agree with you in general, Roberta, but all these dangers and security breaches are due to human intervention, like hackers and cybercriminals, as you said. So I don't think artificial intelligence is dangerous for humanity, but humanity itself is dangerous. So, because of course, artificial intelligence can save lives when it's used in a good way. For instance, you have cybersecurity with artificial intelligence, and this refers to the set of capabilities that allows organizations to detect, predict, and respond to cyber threats that are created by humans. So in real time, it uses machines and deep learning. And I think Geerard has a good example about facial recognition, the software that is used by police worldwide to catch criminals and save lives.
Yeah, Geerard?
Yes, so for example, there are cameras which have facial recognition, and those cameras can be put in public places. And by that way, police will get notified when a certain criminal whose face is inside the database walks past the camera. So that's really important for our safety, for our security. Also for missing people. When a missing person walks in a public place and one of those cameras is attached over there, police will get notified and they can go and they can find back the person. So like for security, it's really, really important to have AI, but as Davy mentioned, it has to be used correctly. And usually when it is not used, when it is dangerous, you could say it is because of humans try to make it dangerous, try to abuse it. But AI itself is, in my opinion, always great.
Okay, I quickly want to jump in on what you said with the police and the criminal. That's very true. I mean, they already have his fingerprints probably from using their iPhone, for example. Something else that I do want to mention, you both mentioned human interference, that it causes AI to, for example, do bad things, which is a very accurate statement. But we've also mentioned before a few times that it is able to develop emotion, self-learning, self-capabilities. And what if that AI develops a bad emotion towards the human? Could it, in your opinion, would that be dangerous as well? Or do you think humans will always have control over the fact to reprogram, for example? Yeah, Geerard?
Well, AI is based on like a code that you are writing, and imagine it's really going wrong. You just change the code, you reprogram it, and it's gone. If imagine it's learning itself, it's called machine learning. That like the AI is teaching itself. Just remove the database, take material away from the database, search the bad material, and take it out. So you can solve the problem, and we will always control them.
That's true. Does anyone else want to add something to that statement, or no? Go back to my file. Okay, so we can conclude that AI is also something which we should take into consideration, that it is in fact very helpful when it comes to security, catching or finding criminals or whatever. But we also have to be aware of the disadvantages and the people with bad intentions, that they could also use it. But as Geerard mentioned, in theory, we would be able to change the coding from the AI system. Let's go to the next one. Privacy. That's our next topic when it comes to dangers for humanity. Let's start with Roberta.
Privacy. So privacy is qualified as a fundamental human right. But how much privacy do we have nowadays? And I would say not so much. Every AI system gathers data, and that is what we give in exchange for using all these free platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Google, Snapchat, etc. Data is an important factor for companies as they get to learn more about us. So you can imagine it was used with negative purpose also. And in the past, it was used against us and against our will. Because I have an example of Cambridge Analytica, which is a British company. And they gather data from people around the world through platforms like the ones that I just mentioned. And they had several illegal problems, such as the 2016 election, where they helped the Trump campaign by spreading customized ads to several users that they thought, based on their data, that were persuadable. So they tried to change their minds about the elections. And they did the same with the Leave EU campaign from Brexit or any other political campaigns around the world. Actually, it happened in Trinidad, Romania, Thailand. It happened all around the world, and it was just one company that gathered all this data from you, from platforms that we use on a daily basis. Facebook is, for some people, the first thing that they open in the morning and the last thing that they look at at night.
Okay.
I have another good example.
Yeah.
No problem. Where the privacy is lacking, and it's the most recent one is the Just Walk Out Amazon store in San Francisco. Their concept is based on a no more staying in line style, where people can simply enter when scanning an app and leave with no physical receipt of cash exchange. Everything is paid online and no scanning is necessary as they have sensors everywhere. And you give them access to your shopping behavior, what you buy, what you put back on the shelves, what you look at twice. The store is fully equipped with cameras and sensors to register every move you make in exchange of a no staying in line system.
Okay. Geerard, let's go to you.
Yes, well, I think it is first of all important to mention that not all AI can breach privacy. For example, when I have, as I mentioned before, for example, I have a brown dot on my skin and I want to see if it is skin cancer or not. That's not breaching my privacy, that machine, because I wanted to have a look at my skin. Similar with Google Maps. Google Maps is following my location, but only when I accepted it, only when I gave my consent to do so. That said, there are some applications that can breach privacy, that does breach privacy. But then you have to make a cost-benefit analysis, I think. For example, I talked before about the cameras with facial recognition. Maybe we don't like that when we are in a public place that the camera is looking at us and checking whether our face is in some database or not. And I don't like this, and maybe it's a small breach of my privacy, but imagine the person next to me is a dangerous criminal, is known to possibly be a terrorist, for example. I'd rather have that the police check it and can take out that person before something happens. So I think, yes, sometimes we have of privacy, but the benefits are huge. The benefits can be life-saving in many cases, I think. And also, it's not that the police is really looking through that camera all the time to check my face, for example. That's usually done by machine, and the AI will notify the police when there is a dangerous criminal. So I think the breach of privacy is very, very small, and the benefit very, very big.
Does anyone else want to add something to this topic?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, Driss.
I've read about China using AI and surveillance cameras to actually spy on their citizens. They're collecting data which affects your social credit, and the higher the social credit, the better. So basically, China is collecting data and implementing a social credit system to make sure no one, not a single citizen, is doing something wrong or is showing bad behavior. For example, AI collects data like not paying fines or misbehaving on a train and stuff. So they're actually spying on every single citizen they have to kind of give them a grade on how good they are behaving and how good of a human they are. which
Okay.
seems pretty messed up to me.
Yeah. Geerard, I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, but what China is doing is, in my opinion, not using AI in a good way. It is more abusing AI. And we are not advocating for what China is doing with AI. They are not only using AI for security, they are using AI to control society. And that is not what we are advocating for. And again, this is human interference. This is a government that decides to use it like this, and that is not the original purpose of AI.
Very strong statements from both sides. Yeah, Roberta, let's go.
I also wanted to add that when you say that it's human interference, AI cannot function yet on its own. So it has an algorithm created by a human. So there will always be a human responsible for that AI algorithm. So we cannot say that AI is good in general, but the human is wrong because the human creates it.
Well, that's the case with many things. Many things are made for good purpose, but people can abuse them. For example, yeah, there are just too many examples to mention, to be honest. To give one, a satellite. Satellites are good for many things. GPS, like Google Maps, as I mentioned before, and many others. But also it can be used to send a missile. Like, I mean, but that's not what it should be used for. But AI and the people who are making AI are not responsible for people who are abusive towards AI, for people who want to use it for bad purposes. That's the mistake of those people, and those people in that case could be called criminals, but you cannot call the system to be bad, or the AI to be bad because some people are using it in a bad way.
Yeah, of course, that's an endless argument, because let us imagine that a gun is invented for hunting, for example, but yeah, you can also kill a human with it. It's something, yeah, it's an endless discussion. However, we do feel that privacy is being compromised in a very big way when it comes to artificial intelligence, since it's not per se only privacy, but also our freedom as human beings that will be sacrificed for what Geerard mentioned, the cost benefits of finding criminals, for example. Then we have the next topic, general safety. How do you guys feel about that? Roberta, let's go to you.
As I already mentioned, because AI is a product of human intelligence, it can be programmed to do either good or bad. And I see the beneficial parts, but isn't it scary to know that anyone smart enough could use the powerful technology against us? Even more scary is the idea that a creator could be losing control over that AI mechanism. And imagine a situation where no one has the power to stop it and it does devastating things. Or if the AI is not used efficiently, it can do the literal job you asked for without taking into consideration the various ways it can damage the environment or the surroundings.
Geerard, I saw you raised your hand, but I would like to jump to Devy for 1 second.
Okay.
Okay,
No
so when I think about safety, I agree with everything that Roberta says, but again, we need to take a closer look at artificial intelligence and not what the human impact can be when they abuse these devices. So when I think about safety, I think about the workplace. And first of all, cybersecurity makes us safer in general because it protects us against cyber threats and against the abuse of our personal private data. And secondly, on the workplace, the human element is a crucial consideration in workplace safety. So we can't decide from the fact that, or we can't hide from the fact that fatigue and stress contribute to many accidents. And this is something that AI devices do not have. They don't have fatigue or stress. So therefore, one of the key advantages of artificial intelligence is the ability to stay alert, more focused, and more relaxed at all times. So again, I definitely want more artificial intelligence devices in the workplace environment, because when you look at the figures worldwide, there are a lot of workplace accidents resulting to death of employees. And of course, thirdly, that might be a topic of discussion. Vehicles that use artificial intelligence can and will improve road safety, when it's used properly. So unless human intervention abuses these artificial intelligence vehicles, but if it's used in a proper way, in a safe way, with enough security walls and so on, it can improve road safety.
I also believe that when all vehicles, let us say all vehicles, what you see is self-driven and all on the same network, on the same database, then exactly, yeah, you're absolutely right. Then it could definitely save or improve human life.
Yeah, like it reminds drivers to follow specific traffic rules. So there's a voice, artificial intelligence has a voice, and it can remind the drivers, oh, hey, there's a stop sign, you need to stop, or you need to lower your speed. So it can also maintain safe distance between other vehicles by means of mathematic equations that are planted within the AI software. And of course, with the GPS software, it can be linked and connected to enable drivers that they drive in the correct lane. So all these things contribute to a improvement in road safety. And I believe that this is only the tip of the iceberg. And what we can expect in terms of vehicle and road and workplace safety is the same like all the other topics. AI is not dangerous for humanity if it's properly used. That's the sole condition here.
Yeah. Okay, Geerard and Roberta, you both raised your hands, but I would like to go to the con side since Davy had a big statement to make. Roberta, yeah?
Regarding to the self-driving cars, I agree that there is very beneficial for society, and I would actually like a self-driving car. But we cannot ignore the fact that this system fail, and if it fails, it can do devastating things, such as human could lose their lives, and this happened. So it's not something that we're talking in the future. This happened, and it's very sad that this system always also fails, but it's also very much used.
Okay, yeah, Geerard?
Well, there is a very, very, very small chance that one of the self-driven cars would fail and would have a problem for a short time. But that chance is much smaller than the chance that a person falls asleep while he is driving. Imagine a person who works a night shift. In the morning they drive home, often they are almost sleeping in their car, and a huge amount of people die because of this, and a self-driven car won't have this problem. So it is always, we won't reduce the number of car accidents to zero. I don't say this, but we will reduce it, and we will reduce it by a lot.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, yeah, so we can conclude our last question, as that safety is a very broad aspect, and that it's a very personal opinion, of course, but there are, of course, many advantages again. Although let's imagine the smart cities and everything being smart and to connect it to the internet, we do see the danger of it failing, but that's actually the only con. If everything works properly, then it should be fine. And we can end our debate here. Is there anything else that somebody would like to say? Not really? Then I would like to say a statement from Stan Lee. With great power comes great responsibility, and I believe that artificial intelligence has all of that because it has the power to build us or destroy us, but if it's used properly, please, it would be so nice. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.